emergency. This is Alex Murdaugh. At 4147 Moselle Road, I need the police to answer immediately. My wife and child got badly.
So good afternoon, friends. I hope everybody's doing well. Another session in court in about 10 minutes. I am Franky, and this is the Think Tank. So I think what I'll do until people start popping on, I really want to watch the pandas. James' least favorite critter. He probably doesn't mind him. He just wonders how they get around with not a lot of smarts. So I can't tell, was he dragging a baby through? Oh yeah, she was. So we can always jump over before or on a break to see what's happening with those earthquakes in Turkey. Very devastating what has gone on there. Yeah, a lot of people died. What were they saying? 7.8, and then another one hit not long after that. It was right around the same, and then they have to deal with all the aftershocks. So there is a lot going on. And actually New York actually got a small, I can't remember the exact measurement, but nothing like Turkey. But yeah, I thought maybe a little bit of panda before we get back into something heavy here. They're usually pretty fun. Right now we got the rails in our ways. I like it when they're playing on that hammock. Damn, that's hilarious. So I've got the court set up. When they show up, we can jump onto that. So we'll get off of that for a second and take a look at these eagles. This is probably one of the nicest views. And I think it is in Big Bear Valley in California. It's just spectacular. So I've got, I think both Eagle cams are in the description. If not, I'll take a look and make sure, double check that they're both in there. I know the one from, oh, I gotta have to double check again where in California. It's a hard word to say. But yeah, California. The water has really, the ice has gone in huge sections of this. So some of us think river and some of us think lake. In my mind, I think I'm looking at a lake, but who knows? So she must have eaten because she is not squawking like she was, unless she's gone shopping while he's taking care of the eggs. So do you think we learned this morning on the Murdaugh trial? Just how crooked he is? He's pretty damn crooked. I am thinking, oh my goodness, with all these witnesses, as soon as that printer gets here, I tell you what, I'm going to be on it. I want to see how many witnesses have come through, because it's not as many. Like they're not seeing the ones that we're looking at from 9:30 in the morning till about 11. They don't see those people. So I guess it has to be decided by the judge if they're going to be witnesses or not. But we're still looking like we haven't gone through, I don't believe, even 50 of the 250 that are coming. I'm just going to pop over to Turkey here for a second and see if there's anything. Looks like CNN might be the place to go. I'm not going to stream from them because I think I'd get in a lot of trouble, but they do seem to have a lot of live footage, and so does the Times Now. I'm pretty careful as to where I go. And I'm not seeing anything I'm comfortable streaming. We might be able to look at a video or something, maybe on break. We'll see how everyone feels. Yeah, CNN. So that does look like that would be the spot. BBC. And if you're a streamer, don't go there. Yeah, it looks like a lot of the ones that I like to stream, they're not doing it. So like I said, we might be able to fit in a video or something. See how it goes. CNN, and the Times, BBC. Is basically what I'm seeing. I'm going to look at Twitter too, because you never know, right? Yeah, CNN. It would be nice because not everybody trusts CNN. So it would be nice if there was another choice. And I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the rest I'm seeing. But I'll keep looking, guys. Absolutely. Let's make sure that our courthouse is live. Yep, so nothing, guys. Nothing. Holy. So let's check on these guys while we're waiting. I was watching them, and the one that's a little bit darker was stretching his wings. I think it's here. Base. Alex and Andrea. So this one here, look at all of his feathers. And look at how appetizing the outside of that is looking to him. I've seen him, like his wingspan, his or her wingspan is amazing. The other one's not like splatted right out sleeping. So where is Alex and Andrea? Maybe they're out fishing again. There's a little one there. And this one, I seen him the other day picking at food. There's volume, but I don't think there will be much. The pin feathers are starting to finally get out of there. Dandy was saying that they're super itchy. She has, I think she said 4 or 5 cockatoos. Big birds. Very knowledgeable. I'll have to ask Dandy when she pops in if that is what this one's doing, is thinking about flying, and will they actually try it when their parents are not there to monitor their activities? I'll change this because you don't need to see me that much at all. There. So this is at Kisatchie National Forest, if that's how it's said. Kisatchee National Forest. Big yawn. Yeah, I think that's what she said. Pin feathers. They're finally starting to come out. You could see that they're driving the little one nuts. And the other one we looked at first, she's lying on 2 eggs. And then there is another camera with another one out here, and she's got one that hatched. Well, hello, Dandy. I have a question for you. The little brown guy, he like stretches out his wings and starts flapping. Well, look at how he's looking over there. He looks like he wants to jump. Will they do that without parental, I don't know, monitoring? I don't know how that works, but yeah, they're getting big. I'm loving being able to watch them grow. This is like, whoa, la, la, la. Yeah. And yeah, I did notice that this first one here, he was pecking at the food for a little while. So I thought that was really cool. That was yesterday, I think. Just awesome. It's really cool to be able to see something like this. So will they do that? Will they take that first flight if their parents are not around? Like, what if they just dive bomb? And exercises. That is so cool. Stretch. It's interesting how sometimes like they lay and sometimes their legs are like just splayed out too. And you're like, are you okay there? And they're just fine. It would be so awesome if we caught them like on their first flight. I would love to see something like that. I guess so, right? That doesn't happen often, right? I'd hate to see that happen. Boom. No. That is so cool. Stretch. Morning stretches, kids. So awesome. I know I say that a lot, but it's the best word I can come up with for this. Flap, kids, flap. Stretching the leg out. Exercise, exercise. Just unreal. So they must use that same nest over and over, I'm assuming, by looking at the size of it. That, maybe they would say in bird language, you don't jump unless we're here to help you. Instinct is so awesome. They flap away until they're strong enough to make it. They lift off the nest before the big adventure. Yay. And then you're saying they will come back until they're done being fed by their parents, learn how to do this on their own? Because I'm seeing that they're showing interest in the food. Oh my God. James would love this. I do believe court is coming in. So off we go. I'm going to mute out, friends.
As council may recall from during jury selection, juror 957 expressed a concern about being here if the trial goes too long, and he mentioned 3 weeks as his limit. So he's brought that to my attention, and he's 729, juror 729. So he's brought that to my attention, and he's pondering the issue. So just bring you all up to date on that issue. Ready for the jury?
I want to raise one issue.
All right.
It doesn't relate to this witness, but the next group of witnesses the state intends to call relate to this blue rain jacket, and that it was seized as a result of a search at Ms. Libby Randolph's Murdaugh's house, and it was found in the closet. Based on what this witness had previously shared with law enforcement, there's no evidence that we've been provided in discovery that connects the defendant with this blue rain jacket. And so we'd move to exclude any evidence of the blue rain jacket unless they can represent to the court that they have any witness who connects the blue rain jacket with this defendant, Alex Murdaugh. Thank you.
All right. From the state?
Your Honor, she has identified a vinyl blue in that closet, which she says was consistent with what she saw Alex Murdaugh coming into her house with. She said, yeah, that looks like it. There's some questions that were asked by the defense, which I'm going to ask her about now. When she is asked about a shirt or something else, but she, I believe, has testified, yeah, that is consistent with the color and the vinyl that I saw that's in the closet.
All right. Well, let's bring the jury. All right, thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Meadors.
Smith, you remember being interviewed by Patrick McDavid and Robert Purcell that worked with Mr. Harpootlian and Mr. Griffin in October 20th of 2022?
Yes.
And I believe Mr. Griffin had asked you about some shoes in response to our questions. Do you remember telling them that he had, these investigators, that he had on some cloth-like shoes?
Yes.
And I believe Mr. Griffin asked you about the length of time you were there. Do you remember these investigators asking you about the length of time that Mr. Murdaugh was at Alameda the night of June 7th?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. He's offering a prior consistent statement, and no one's in, I don't know why. Not impeaching her with it. You can't bolster her testimony with prior consistent statement.
Mr. Metters?
I believe he had questioned the 30 or 40 minutes and was questioning whether or not Alex asked her to say that. Through their investigators, it's clarified for me their conversations that directly contradict what she said early on direct that I have through their questioning and interviews, which I just got a little while ago.
All right, Mr. Griffin?
Again, he's offering a prior consistent statement, and it's not admissible unless it's being offered to rebut a claim of recent fabrication, and that's not the situation we have here.
The entire statement right now.
In objection to the statement being entered into evidence.
Yes, Your Honor, it's not a statement. There's a whole 30-minute audio recording. Yes.
All right. Rule 613B addresses this issue, and you may proceed. The objection is overruled.
Mr. Griffin asked you the length of time that Mr. Murdaugh was there when these investigators questioned you in October of 2022. Do you remember them asking you about how long he was in the kitchen and in the room with Miss Murdaugh?
Yes.
And do you remember them asking you about, and he asked you on cross, whether it was unusual, whether Mr. Murdaugh had visited that time of night? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And do you remember telling the investigators that he would not come on your shift after 8 o'clock? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And that that was unusual?
Yes.
And do you remember one of them questioning you, you actually registered it in your mind that something that this is unusual for him to be here that time of night? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Was your answer, yeah? Because I was like, yeah, to be honest, I was like, oh, why are you here this time of night? Why are you here this time of night, you know? Because we all going to bed?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And as far as the length of time, do you remember them asking you how long? And you said it was about 20 minutes?
Yes.
You know, I'm trying to speed this up. Maybe for some donuts. Do you remember, when Mr. Griffin asked you about your recollection as to what Mr. Murdaugh asked you about the 30 to 40-minute period. Do you remember that? Remember
Yes.
just a little while ago when he was asking you about that? I'm not trying to be, just a little while ago.
Yes,
Okay. About whether if anybody ever asked you if I was here or not?
yes,
And do you remember that his investigators asked you if SLED had put that in your mind?
no,
Is that the recollection or something they put in your mind?
He's leading the witness. He's publishing a document that is not a certified transcript of anything. Object.
Mr.
It's their statement. They took it.
I sustain the objection.
Did Alex Murdaugh ask you to tell somebody how long he'd been there?
he said, if someone asks you, I've been 30 to 40 minutes, that's what he said.
He said if somebody asked you.
Yes,
Just repeating her answer.
Mr. Metters?
Is that the answer you gave his investigators
yes,
back in October of 2022?
yes,
Now, Mr. Griffin asked you about this blue tarp. Did his or Mr. Hartman's investigators ask you about that when they met with you?
yes,
Did they bring something with them? Do you remember them showing you something?
no, a picture,
Okay. Did they also show you a tarp?
yes,
Did they tell you they just got it from Kmart?
yes,
Just bought it from Kmart? And I can't. So their investigators brought this with you to the interview
yes,
and showed you this, correct?
yes,
And had you already described well, who did you first tell that there was something that the defendant may have been holding in his hand? Who'd you tell first? When he came in that morning after the funeral, who did you tell that first to in law enforcement? That the defendant may have been holding something or was holding something when he came in?
Dango, Officer Dango,
Dango.
Dango,
Okay. And as a result of that, SLED came and interviewed you.
yes,
Okay. And then you told them what your testimony's been.
yes,
Correct? So in October 22nd, when their investigators came, they were asking you about what you talked about to Dango, right?
yes,
Okay. And they showed you this, right?
yes,
And did they also ask you about if you'd seen a shirt? Do you remember when they asked you if you'd seen a blue shirt?
yes.
What was a blue shirt?
It's a blue,
Well, I don't know. What was it? Just like a dress shirt or a shirt? What was it?
like a rain jacket or something, like a pullover.
Okay.
Something.
But they described it as a shirt?
No, not as I can recall.
Do you remember them asking you, you're positive it wasn't a shirt?
Yes,
They
Yes.
asked you that.
yes,
And your answer was it's vinyl. It was a vinyl, right?
yes, yes,
Don't lead the witness.
And Mr. Griffin was asking you about the vinyl, whatever. Do you remember them asking you if there could have been a gun in it, his investigators?
I can't recall, I can't remember.
Last question, Judge. Can I have that picture? States 411, Ms. Shelley. You've identified this previously. Does that look like the blue vinyl garment he was carrying in?
Yes,
Say that again.
yes,
Was it all crumbled up in his arms?
it was balled up, yes.
Was it folded out?
No, it wasn't.
Was he wearing it?
No, he wasn't.
That's all, thank you.
By the defense.
Ms. Smith, it's clear when you left the next morning, you saw the blue tarp laid out on Ms. Libby's retirement rocking chair, correct?
Yes,
And it was not a rain jacket, was it?
no, it wasn't.
It was a blue tarp, like what's in here as in evidence 86, right?
Yes,
No doubt in your mind.
no doubt.
Now, our investigators, let me ask you, Mark, for identification exhibit 87, did they show you a picture of this rain jacket?
Yes,
Had you ever, and you told them you never seen that rain jacket, right?
correct.
You know, I would introduce exhibit 87 into evidence.
No objection.
Can I put it up here? Well, while they're working on that, Ms. Smith, did anyone speak to you over lunch about your testimony?
No,
Did you talk to any SLED agents or anybody at the AG's office?
no,
Trying to get that going. Is that full size? Yeah, let's see if we get the whole picture in there. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Doug. You ever seen this rain jacket before?
no,
Did Alex Murdaugh have that rain jacket with him when he came in to the Ms. Libby's home on the morning, I believe, a few days after the funeral?
no,
And if this photo, exhibit 41, states exhibit 41, can you see this blue thing wadded up?
yes,
If that is, in fact, the photo of the rain jacket that we just looked at, would your testimony be you've never seen that garment folded up in that closet before?
no, only thing I seen was blue velvet. I didn't know it was a raincoat or not. It was balled up.
So well, had you ever been in this closet before?
No, I haven't.
So you don't know what that is folded up there, do you?
Correct.
And so if it's this rain jacket, if that's what's in that closet, you've never seen Alex Murdaugh with this garment before, have you?
No, I haven't.
All right. Now, just very briefly, I know you've been really good here. I know it's been a hard day, and we appreciate you being here. That day when you came to work, Mr. Randolph Murdaugh had been put back in the hospital. Isn't that correct?
Yes,
And that was unusual because he'd just gotten out of the hospital like a day before, right?
yes.
And so it was, although it wasn't usual for Alex Murdaugh to come over that night, but this was an unusual day because Mr. Randolph had been put back in the hospital. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. That's all the questions I have, John.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. You may call your next witness.
State calls Kristen Moore.
Raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony about to give the court in which trial shall be the truth, so help you God? I do. If you see any witness stand, state your name again for the record, spell your last name.
Kristen Moore, Moore.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you tell the jurors where you work?
I work for the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division.
And Agent Moore, you might need to pull that microphone a little, speak up so we can hear you, make sure to hear you out here. Thank you. And what do you do with SLED?
I'm a special agent assigned to the crime scene unit.
And did you have an occasion to become involved in the investigation of the murders of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Were you involved in the execution of a search warrant?
Yes, ma'am.
And where was that search warrant executed?
At 2175 Yemisi Highway in Barnville, South Carolina.
And do you know what that residence was or is?
It was the residence of Alexander Murdaugh's mother.
And who was there when you executed the search warrant?
Several SLED agents were on scene as well as family members.
What were you looking for when you searched the residence?
We were advised that we were looking for a blue and colored tarp-like material.
And what areas of the residence did you search?
We searched the entire interior of the residence.
Let's talk about the north bedroom of that residence. Do you recall what you located in that bedroom?
We located a blue tarp inside the closet in the north bedroom on the second floor.
Agent Moore, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Tate's Exhibit 224. Do you recognize what's in that picture?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of what you found in the north bedroom closet?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, this time the state would move Tate's 224 into evidence.
Admit it.
Permission to publish. Agent Moore, could you describe for the jurors what you found in that picture?
That is the blue tarp that we located inside the bedroom in the inside the closet inside the bedroom.
And what was that tarp located in?
A storage container.
Were there any items in the storage container?
There were miscellaneous dishes underneath the tarp.
After you found the tarp, did you continue searching the residence?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
And what else did you find?
We located a blue raincoat in the coat closet on the second floor.
I'm going to show you what's previously been entered as State's Exhibit 223. Do you recognize that photo?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
They put that on the screen so the jury can see. Could you point out that closet for us?
It is at the top of the photo on the right-hand side. So the door immediately above the stairs leads to an attic area, and the door to the right of it is the coat closet.
So not this door right here at the very top of the stairs. The next door is the closet we're talking about.
That's correct.
And I'm going to show you State's 414. Do you recognize that picture?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what are we looking at there?
That is a picture of the interior of the coat closet.
Your Honor, at this time I move State's 414 into evidence.
No objection.
Submit it.
Now, Agent Moore, if you could you point out the blue raincoat or tarp-like material that you found in this picture?
It's in the back of that photo behind the white box, towards the bottom.
And if you don't mind, would you mind stepping down and pointing that out to the jurors? Okay. Would you come down to the big TV? Thank you.
It's right here.
So, and that's how you found the raincoat?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Jammed down in that closet.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you look at this picture, it appears there are other items of clothing that are hanging up,
Yes, ma'am, there was.
but the raincoat is balled up down there.
That is correct.
And what did you do when you located that raincoat?
We documented it with photographs, and then we collected it in a brown paper bag, which was dated, sealed, and initialed.
I'm going to show you State's 225, which I believe the defense has an objection to.
Your Honor, if this is the raincoat, it's already in evidence. The photo of the raincoat is in evidence. I don't know why we need another photo, but we do object to any testimony about seizing the blue raincoat, anything beyond that, based upon my earlier statements to the court.
Response?
Your Honor, this agent's testifying to what she retrieved from the closet, and I believe this is a picture of her retrieving that item.
Objections overruled.
So, Agent Moore, do you recognize what's in this picture?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And this is a true and accurate depiction of what you recovered from that closet?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Your Honor, at this time I'll move State's 225 into evidence.
Same objection.
Submitted over objection.
All right, and Agent Moore, if you could tell us what is in this picture, State's Exhibit 225.
That is a photo of the blue raincoat that I collected.
this will be State's Exhibit 226. Without opening this, can you tell us what is in this item, State's Exhibit 226?
Based off of the item number and lab number and my initials, this would be the blue raincoat.
Your Honor, the state removed State's 226 into evidence.
Objection, relevant.
No response.
Your Honor, this is the reported raincoat that was recovered from the closet.
Submitted.
All right. And when you recovered that raincoat, what did you do anything with it besides photograph and collect it?
Not on that day. We transported it back to the SLED Forensic Services Laboratory.
And now in the closet where you found that raincoat, were there any guns?
No, ma'am.
Were you involved in any of the processing of the raincoat?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And what part were you involved in?
On October 7th, 2021, at the SLED Forensic Services Laboratory, I met with SLED serology personnel to document and do additional processing on the raincoat.
And what processing did you take part in?
It was documented with photographs. The stains on the raincoat were then documented with scale tape and labeled, photographed again. SLED serology department then tested the stains with phenolphthalein, which is a presumptive test for the presence of suspected blood. All testing with phenolphthalein was negative. We then used an alternate light source to look for any latent stains on the raincoat. We observed an additional stain and documented it with photographs as well as scaled it. Then it was tested with phenolphthalein as well, and it was negative. We then used leucocrystal violet, or LCV, which is also a presumptive test for the presence of suspected blood, and it was negative also.
All right, as far as your involvement in the raincoat, does that pretty much sum it up for us?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
Okay. All right, thank you, Agent Moore. Please answer any questions from the defense.
Good afternoon, Agent Moore.
Good afternoon.
So I understand you went to Almeda, Ms. Libby Murdaugh's home, to execute a search warrant. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
And what was the day? September
September 16th, 2021.
September 16th, 2021. And you were looking for a blue tarp.
We were advised that we were searching for a blue tarp-like material.
Okay. And you found a blue tarp. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And in that blue tarp, there were dishes wrapped up in that blue tarp, right?
No, sir, no dishes were wrapped in the blue tarp. It was folded on top of the dishes.
Okay. So you seized the blue tarp, right?
Yes, sir.
And did you do any testing of the blue tarp to see if there was blood?
No, sir, I did not do any testing on the blue tarp.
Do you know anyone who did any blue testing on the blue tarp?
I am unaware of any testing done on the blue tarp.
You see this rain jacket in here in this box. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
And back in the lab, you did some presumptive testing. We sprayed it with phenol first.
Phenolphthalein was first utilized, yes, sir.
And phenolphthalein is a presumptive test for blood, meaning, you know, it could test positive, but it's not necessarily means it's blood, right?
That is correct.
And in order to determine whether something that has tested positive with phenolphthalein, you do another type test to confirm human blood, right?
That is correct.
But the blue rain jacket never tested positive for the presumptive test using phenolphthalein, right?
That is correct.
So it was negative.
Yes, sir.
So after getting negative with phenol, then you used another product called LCV. Is that right?
We did. We used an alternate light source first to make sure that we had all stains documented.
Now, an alternate light source is what?
It is a specific wavelength of a flashlight, and you used a colored filter and then you can see any latent things that you wouldn't be able to see with your naked eye.
And the alternative light source doesn't tell you whether that's possibly blood or something else, does it?
No, sir, it does not.
So you use that alternative light source and you identified some area, and is that the area you tested with LCV?
We tested the entire raincoat with LCV.
The entire raincoat? Okay.
Yes, sir.
And again, that's a presumptive test like phenolphthalein,
Yes, sir.
and that tested negative?
That is correct.
Okay. And so there's no more blood testing done of the rain jacket, right?
I was not involved in any further processing of the raincoat.
Do you know if that LCV that you sprayed on the entire shirt has turned the rain jacket in that box completely violet?
I have not seen the raincoat since the processing was done on October 7th, 2021.
Okay. What size is this rain jacket?
I could not tell you the exact size of the raincoat.
Well, would you agree with me that the records indicate it's a large?
Yes, sir, it is a larger jacket.
Well, the size being large, do you know if it's large? That's the size?
I do not recall the size.
Do you mind if she opens it up? Your Honor, do you mind if the witness opens the box up and let's see what size the rain jacket is?
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
I have scissors.
You have scissors?
No, I don't have scissors. I have gloves.
Yeah, you probably want gloves.
Yeah.
What size is it?
Yes, sir. I don't see a tag right here at the front. You may want to put gloves on. It has chemicals on it.
Ooh, I don't want to touch it then, which I just did. Okay. Well, do you mind standing up in front of the jury and show them how large it is? Is it a poncho style rain jacket?
Just so it appears that way.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Smells too good. Do you know if that rain jacket or photos of that rain jacket were shown to any member of the Murdaugh family to see if they recognize it?
I am unsure.
Okay. You did not then, did you?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you show that photo or a picture, excuse me, the photograph, the rain jacket? Let me scratch that. Did you show to Shelley Smith the rain jacket or a photo of the rain jacket?
No, sir, I did not.
Do you know of any sled agent who did?
I do not.
1 second, Your Honor. That's all the questions I have.
Further questions?
I only brought this up here.
All right, Agent Moore, what happened to that tarp or raincoat? Where is it?
It's in the
Back
box.
box.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. State's Exhibit 226. This is the raincoat you collected from that closet at Alameda.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Now, when you collected it, did it have like this tape here on the raincoat? Where we can, the white tape with the letters on there?
No, ma'am, I placed that on that.
So that was done during processing?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
And we've been talking about a raincoat, but is this what you would normally think a raincoat would look like?
No, ma'am.
This is rather large for a raincoat.
Yes, ma'am.
When you found it, it was balled up like this?
That is correct.
No further questions for this witness, John.
Thank you. You may step down. Call your next witness.
William McElvey.
Raise your right hand, left hand on the Bible. You affirm the testimony about your shall be the truth, so help you God. Take a seat in the witness stand. State your name again. Spell your last name.
My name is William McElveen, McElveen.
Mr. McElveen, how are you doing today?
Well, how are you?
Doing well. If you would, tell the jury a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up, and where'd you go to school?
I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina. Went to AC Florida High School. Went to the Citadel after high school. Graduated there in 2017. Went to get my master's at Clemson. Graduated in 2018. Moved back to Charleston, worked for a CPA firm for a while. And now I'm in finance for a home builder.
For where, sorry?
For a home building company.
And what area generally do you currently live?
Live in Charleston now.
Mr. McElveen, were you friends with Paul Murdaugh?
I was good friends.
All right, well, tell us a little bit about when y'all first met.
So I lived in Edisto Beach every summer with my granddad, and when I was growing up, and he was in Edisto all the time, so we just became close. Edisto's a small town, not many young people live there, so the young people kind of stick together. We both love fishing, hanging out, so we just became good friends through that.
So you would spend the summers in Edisto?
That's correct. Yep.
And what kind of things would you do throughout those summers?
Just hang out, work, fish.
What kind of jobs did you get?
Worked multiple jobs there for 5-ish summers. Worked the marina a good bit, a restaurant there called the Sea Cow. I worked at a realty company as an inspector and at the Bilo as well.
And I think you just said, but you met Paul about the high school years?
That's correct.
Okay. Tell us a little about your friendship. How did it start, and how did it kind of evolve?
It started just kind of common interest in fishing and hanging out. And then he was just a really fun guy. So we just hung out more and more. And I started going to Moselle, hanging out with his whole family. They kind of took me in and just evolved from there. Yeah.
So did you get to know him pretty well?
Yes, I did.
Did you get to know his family fairly well?
Yes, I did.
Tell us a little bit about Paul.
Paul was just a really fun guy, just like the life of the party kind of guy. Everybody that really knew him loved him. I don't know, just a great guy, very loyal friend, the kind of guy that's always there when you need him.
So he was, if you reached out and needed something, he. You might want to pull that mic a little closer to your mouth so it picks it up. Just try to speak into the microphone.
Okay.
So was he sort of a responsive friend? Meaning, if you reached out to him, would he respond back?
Yes, he was very responsive.
And how did you primarily communicate with him? What means?
Cell phone normally, yeah.
Phone calls or texts?
A little bit of both, but mostly phone calls. He was a big phone caller.
Well, I guess tell us a little bit about Paul's cell phone use. Did he like to use his cell phone?
He did like to use his cell phone.
How would you describe it? His use of cell phone?
He used cell phone a lot. Like kind of every time he had a road trip or anything like that, he would use it to call all of his friends and just check in on everybody. And I can speak for almost all of his friends. We get a phone call from him almost every day. And then he used text a lot, Snapchat, that kind of stuff.
Was he on his phone quite a bit?
Yes.
To the point where was it very noticeable to his friends?
Yes.
Did you ever have a chance, did you have an opportunity to get to know Maggie Murdaugh?
Yes, I did.
All right, well, tell us about her. What was your observations about her, or your, whatever friendship y'all had?
She was just a super sweet lady. She kind of always trusted Paul when he was with me. She would know he's staying out of trouble. She just treated all Paul's friends like they were her kids. And it's a very nice lady.
And did she approve of you hanging out with Paul?
Yes.
Okay, tell us about that.
About what? Sorry.
Well, did she ever comment to you about how she liked you hanging out with Paul?
Yeah, she did. She'd like to hang out with Paul.
And did you have an opportunity to get to know Alex Murdaugh?
I did.
All right, and what were your perceptions of him?
Kind of same way with the rest of the family, just took everybody in, all Paul's friends. He was kind of the dad of all of our friend group. Same way with the rest of the family, yeah.
And is he here today?
Yes,
Did you identify him?
yes. It's in the brown jacket.
Thank you. Did you ever get to go out to the family property on Moselle?
Yes, I did.
How often would you have you been out there visiting?
Probably 30 or 40 times.
Okay. Did you spend the night when you went out there?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the property. What kind of things would y'all do out there?
Did a lot of hunting. Also, probably more than hunting, just hanging out. Just enjoying each other's company, hanging out.
So you said about what, 30 to 40? Is that what you said?
That's correct.
If you would, please
Yep.
speak up a little bit. It's okay. All right. Now that the property, was there a main house location?
There was, yes.
All right. And was there a secondary location for kennels and a shed?
Yes, there was.
All right. Did you spend much time out at that secondary location?
A good bit, yeah.
All right. Describe that area for us, if you would. What was out there, and what would you do out there?
So it's like a big shed hangar that side comes up. We'd all hang out over there. And there's the dog kennels. And then a few years back, they built the shed across from the hangar. And it was just a good place to get away from the main house and just hang out and talk.
If you were visiting Moselle, would you spend most of your time hanging around at that shed, the hangar area?
Depends. For large groups, we would have people over there more often. If it was just me and Paul and the family, we just hang out at the house.
You mentioned kennels. Were there a number of dogs on the property?
There were, yes.
Okay. Do you remember them?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about the dogs you remembered. And well, first of all, were there kind of two different kinds of dogs between family dogs or working dogs?
Yes.
Okay. Did you get to know any of the family dogs?
Yes.
Who were they? Tell us about those dogs.
Bubba is a yellow lab, and then Bourbon, brown lab, and Grady is a black lab. And they were all pretty relaxed, would hang out around the house mostly, but I don't know, they were just good dogs.
Did they, and when you slept over there, did the dogs sleep at the house location, the main house?
Yes, they did. The family dogs did.
The family dogs.
Yes.
And then there were some working dogs where would they stay, the working dogs?
They would stay in the kennels by the shed.
Yes, the location. So the Moselle location, when you started going there, did it have one or two entrances and exits?
2 entrances.
Okay.
And exits.
And describe the 2 entrances.
So one was the main entrance that was had like a pillar outside, and that would just kind of go to the house and not really pass anything, go through some trees. The other entrance would be next to the cabin, right behind the shed, and that entrance can kind of go multiple ways when you go in there, but that passes by the cabin and the sheds and then goes to the house as well.
And with that entrance, is that where the mailbox was located?
Ooh, I can't remember the mailbox is. I believe those at the pillars at the main entrance, maybe.
Is that the location near the dog kennels? That second exit?
Yes, yes.
Was there one exit that was used more often than the other?
We probably more often use the one by the sheds.
Did you ever, if there was ever a time where someone was leaving the house and you all were down at the kennels, what was the normal course of action for that person, whether it was Mr. or Mrs. Murdaugh?
Say that again?
If anyone was leaving the house or coming back and you all were down at the shed area, the kennel area, what was the normal course of action for Mr. or Mrs. Murdaugh if they were leaving the house and exiting and you were down there?
Typically, they would come check on us and drive by and just say, hey. But
That was normal?
I would say it's normal, yes.
Did you, with Paul, were you guys close enough where you shared your location with each other?
We did.
Tell us what that means. Is this an iPhone?
Yeah, it's the app on Find My Friends on iPhone.
And what does it mean to actually share your location with someone?
Just means any point in time you can open your phone and see where all your friends are and pinpoint their exact location.
Did you do that with many people?
Probably 5 or 10.
Do you know if Paul did that with many people?
Don't think Paul did with many people now.
When you spent time down at the hangar and the kennels, was it common for firearms to be stored down there or left down there?
Not common, no.
In those times, you said you've been about there about 30 to 40 times. How would you explain common? Was it something that you frequently see or not frequently?
I can't remember a time I've seen firearms left at the sheds.
When's the last time you saw Paul Murdaugh?
June 5th, I think, 2 days before.
That weekend before
Yes.
Monday, June
Yes.
7th? Tell us about that weekend.
I can't remember much. We were hanging out with my friends' houses. I think we went to a bar called the Windjammer in Charleston. But I don't remember much from the weekend.
Did you see him on Sunday?
Do not think I saw him on Sunday, no.
Did he stay at your house that weekend?
I don't think so. My friends and I were talking about that. We can't remember if it was my house or one of my other friends' houses.
Would Paul commonly stay at, when he was visiting Charleston, would he crash at people's houses?
Yes, he normally stayed at our house.
But you don't remember if that particular time he did or not?
Don't remember.
How were you kind of told about the murders? How'd you find out?
So I had missed a few calls in the middle of the night that I didn't wake up to. The next morning, my roommate came in my room and told me.
Your roommate is who?
Frank Chapman.
And he told you what happened?
Yes.
Did you make it out to the property at all?
Yes, the next day I went out to the property.
So the 8th of June?
Yes.
And walk us through what happened out there when you made it to the property. Where did you go?
We just went to the main house and just went to see the family and to be with everybody.
A lot of friends and family were there?
Good bit of friends and family, yes.
Did you attend the funeral as well?
I did, yes.
Thank you, court's indulgence. No further questions?
That's
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Mr. McElveen, where are you from?
From Columbia, South Carolina.
And are you friends with Will Chapman and Frank Chapman and Will Loving and
I am, yes.
that crowd? Okay. And so you met with Paul, I take it, down at Edisto with the Columbia group?
Yep,
And you became really good friends with Paul's, correct?
correct,
And I think you described him as a loyal friend, did you not?
correct.
And you became close not only to Paul, but to the entire Murdaugh family, right?
Correct.
You know, there are houses that kids, teenagers, young adults congregate at their parents' house. Was the Murdaugh house at Edisto one of those houses where people would congregate?
It was, yes.
And you spent a lot of time at Edisto there in the
did.
summers?
I did, yes.
And you spent time around Alec and Paul and Buster and Maggie, is that correct?
That's correct.
And how would you describe Alec's relationship with Paul?
They had a very good relationship. They were kind of best friends in a way.
They were close.
Very close.
And how, from your observation, how would you describe Alec's relationship with Maggie?
From everything I've seen, it was great too. I mean, nothing, I've never seen anything negative.
Right. And they like for Paul to hang around with you, and right?
That's correct.
I mean, I think you were asked about that. You strike me as someone who's very responsible. Did they like that about you? You think?
They did, I think so.
And you strike me as someone who if you're down at Moselle, would not leave guns laying around. You wouldn't do that, would you?
Probably not, no, sir.
Okay, so when you were with Paul, hunting, you were responsible enough to be sure that guns got put away properly, correct?
Correct.
You were asked about some of their dogs. Actually, Paul had a puppy, did he know?
He did.
You have that puppy now?
I do.
What's his name?
His name's Goose.
How's he doing?
He's doing great.
Glad to hear that. And you describe 3 labs: Bubba, the yellow lab, Verdon, the brown lab, and Grady, the black lab.
That's correct.
And when you were at Moselle, I mean, these were family dogs, and they stayed up at the residence.
That's right.
Now, up at the residence, they had a invisible electric fence around the house, correct?
I didn't know about it, but possibly so.
Okay. Well, was Bubba a handful? Just take off sometimes?
Sometimes.
Right. And you don't know, when was the last time you were at Moselle?
I can't remember.
Was it in 2021?
Most likely.
Okay. Were the dogs there?
Can't remember.
When you heard that Paul had been murdered, did Will Loving come down to your house in Charleston, or was it another friend's house?
Will went to another friend's, but I think he came to our house later in the day. But we had a group at our house as well.
And then you went to Moselle?
The next day we went to Moselle.
Would that have been on that Wednesday? Murders were Monday night, late.
So yes, I guess that Wednesday we went to Moselle.
So not the Tuesday, but the Wednesday.
I believe that's correct.
And who all went with you?
I think Frank Chapman went with me. And that might be it.
Okay. And who was there when you got there? Were any other any other friends of Paul there when you got there?
Rogan was there, and Nolan was there. Um,
And what was,
There might have been a couple more, but I'm not sure.
okay, what was Alex Murdaugh's demeanor when you saw him?
Just sad, crying.
Did y'all hug?
We did hug, yeah.
I mean, did he? When he was crying?
Yes.
And did you go back over to Moselle after the funeral?
Yes, I did.
And were there a bunch of Paul's friends there?
There were, yes.
And can you tell me, was Alex, she still crying, hugging all the Paul's
He
friends?
was still crying. I mean, there were so many people there that it's kind of a line to see him, but from the little bit I saw him, yes.
1 second, Your Honor. Do I have anything further?
Anything further? Thank you. You may step down. Break, addressing the jury, 15 minutes break.
Well, there you go. It's a boom shakalaka. Unreal. You know, I feel bad. Like, honestly, a lot of these people seem very scared. And I find that like heartbreaking that somebody or any family could possibly have this kind of control. And to the fact that everybody's scared of them. I mean, it's not cool. And I mean, look at practice. Woohoo. Just they just seem scared. And I don't think that's right. That's the kind of people, oh my word, look at that. Oh my God, that is so cool. Oh, that is so cool. So, yeah, I mean, that one lady was scared. You could tell she was scared through the whole thing. And then this kid, like, he looks terrified. It's like, what the hell? Yeah. How can these people have so much control? I mean, I guess it is the money, and they've always had the money, but there's more. There's more. They've got to have some kind of track record. Oh my God, that is so awesome. Oh, don't wait till you're ready, little buddy. I hate that people have to live in fear for their well-being because some asshole is out there doing his best to intimidate them. Probably more family members than one wants to think is doing the same damn thing. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, he was very responsible and very, very personable. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, come on. Don't fail me now. Is that one like just laying down having a nap, I hope? I'm sure. Right? Wakey. Yeah, that's what, like this one. I'm trying to see. Oh, yeah, it's okay. I think. It was, doesn't look as healthy as the other one. It hasn't right from the get-go. I don't like that much. But it was trying to flap its wings earlier. Yeah, I don't like that. Get up, little guy. Get up, little guy. Come on. Oh, no. Look at that. Oh, my God. That is so amazing. Yeah, I just hope he's okay. This guy's like, just look at that. Oh, my God. If it flies, I will like I'll be like so happy. Come on, little dude. You be okay. Mexi. There, now it's picking at its little wings there. Like, what did Dandy call them? So they're very itchy. I knew it. I remembered it earlier, and now I've forgotten. Yeah, it's almost like it's growing a little bit slower than the other one. I wonder if that's common. I'll know as soon as Court comes in. See, it looks like it's doing okay. Maybe it's just crashed out. Let's see here. Pin feathers. Thank you. Pin feathers. So do you think that's all that's happening is, I don't like that. Come on. Show your strength there. This guy looks like he's going to jump right the hell off. Yeah, it's up our, that's a long way down. You be good there, little Baba. Like, could he have hatched later? I don't know how that works. One of those, what does that say? Even sounds like one of those nasty, out of nowhere itches. Exactly. Exactly. They're so dark, hey? Well, the one is. And look at the size of his, like, what are it, talons? Get away from the edge there, little dude. Back up. Get away from the edge. Your mama needs to bring you some more grub. Or dad. You watch. We're going to be busy. Sorry I'm making noises. My chair is leather. I'm sorry. I had to put this over because my dog is constantly jumping up. Okay, come on. Yeah, no timing out. It's not acceptable. So does he need more, like, does he need tail feathers, or is this? They could have hatched a few days apart. The flighty one doesn't have many tail feathers. But do you think that one's sick? Or does he just like to lay down like that? I don't know. Uh, I know Mother Nature does her own thing, but I am a worrier. That I am. Especially with animals, you know. Animals, seniors, kids, the vulnerable. And hello, wakey wakey. Yeah, the itch you cannot get to. Exactly. So if he decides he's going to jump off that nest, and he doesn't have much from tail feathers, does that mean he's going to like fly like I probably would, like a rock? Because he's looking like he's looking forward to flying. I wonder if they're going to go late because there's only like an hour and almost 10 minutes before they usually break for the day. Or do they go late now because I don't know how it's going to work. We'll see. Yeah, I was wondering, Dandy. That's, yeah. Yeah. How sad, eh? I wonder if I can find another one that's not heartbreaking, because that's heartbreaking. Looking. I'm trying to find another one for us. Okay, we've seen them earlier. Let's look at something that's not as, we don't want sad. Let's look at this. So beautiful. We can check up on those two later. I just think that's beautiful, watching how all of the ice is receding. I looked at the pandas. They're having fun.
Of this kind of balloon activity.
No. Oh my God. Don't do that. Door's open. You got food and water. You're good. You're set. This obviously isn't Mother Nature, but they sure are fun to watch. Like, they don't do a lot. They really do like the toys. Oh, is that one still nursing? Well, they are young. And she's just sitting there like, yeah, life's good. I don't have to think a lot. Hang out here with my cubs. So adorable. Oh my God. I did look for at the Racoon Saloon. I didn't see any movement. So they must be nocturnal, right? I haven't Googled it, but I'm assuming. Oh my God, those panda bear babies. I'd love to find one for koalas and kangaroos. Are they in the middle of the night too for us? I can't remember. I cannot remember. Yeah, Dandy, I took that off. That was just sad. No movement in the court. Yeah, she is. Like, she's in a recliner. Life is good. Nice sunny day. Oh. I hear movement in the court. Oh my God, you just want to cuddle those little things. They're so mischievous. Yeah, chillaxing. Exactly. Okay, so I'll have to check out that Racoon Saloon at night sometime, because every time I look for them, they're like nowhere to be found. A little bit longer of a break. That's okay. Oh, you're okay. You just want a cookie. I know you. I know you. I wonder if there is nature cams with these. Like, are panda bears something that are getting like extinct, or like, I don't even know what their population is. I'm hearing court sounds, but the door's open, friend. You're good. Yeah, I'd love to see them running around that Racoon Saloon. I think that would be pretty damn adorable. Oh my God, those little babies are adorable. Let's see what I've got in here. Our eagle right now and these guys. Do you guys have raccoons? Okay. I've lived in a few different areas that have had raccoons, but yeah, they're not something that is around a lot here. I remember I lived in Vancouver, and there was like a raccoon that was underneath the front stairs, and everyone's like, watch out, he's nasty. It's like, oh, is that right, Shauna? Well, yeah, that's sad. And raccoons are so adorable, in my opinion. But I think badgers are kind of like cute looking little things, and they're mean as shit. I love how she plays with those babies. Like she's a good mom. Yeah, curious. They get into everything, right, Shauna, if I remember correctly? The only thing we really, even though we're out in the middle of the mountains, I mean, we've got chipmunks and squirrels and all that everywhere, but the only thing really, yeah, I can't say that we've got any animals that are really intrusive. Up you come, kid. I got you. I got you. Oh, the raccoons love shiny things? Okay, that's cool. That's cool. And are they as mean as I've been told? She just treats those babies so softly. Like, for the most part. And even when she grabs them, she's just grabbing fur. Like, look upside down. Oh my God. You're staying with me. Oh my God. Oh my God. Leave me alone, Ma. Okay. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, that is good to know. You know what? That's one thing I haven't even checked to see if we have around here as raccoons. I haven't ran into one. Once it gets a little nicer here, I'll probably go on a gander and take some videos of this area and put it on Frankly Franky. Okay, what you got? Oh no, that's okay. Usually it's not okay. That time it was okay. Yeah, like I said the other day, I would really like if I could have any kind of, I would love a skunk, a descented skunk. Everybody has said that they are the most cuddly little animals, and it's like, oh my God, I want one. That would be what I would like. I bet raccoon babies are cute. Oh, different shot. I find that rather interesting that they said, yeah, it's a skunk, James. Hello. No, like descented, where they're not smelly. Kind of like what you have to do to ferrets. But you can do that. It's just a scent gland. And they usually don't spray unless they're afraid. But I would want to get rid of that gland. Yeah, they are. Everyone, I know a few people that have had one, and yeah, they're supposed to be just lovey, cuddly little critters. Not to say I wouldn't mind getting a little baby. If you're in here, James, I'll switch it around a little bit. They've always said like similar to a cat, but way, way more loving. I'll just refresh this. There you go. Okay. Raccoon skunks are horrible, cute, but stinky. Yeah, absolutely. But you know, a lot of people say that about ferrets too, but you get them descented, like mine doesn't stink. You just keep it clean. Keep the litter box. Yes, I thought you would like that, James. I try to show the pandas because I know they drive you crazy. I try to show them when I haven't noticed you in chat. So I am thinking of you. And Court is coming back, friends. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to mute out, friends.
Shouldn't be a complicated issue, but Mr. Waters and I are complicated people.
Yes, sir.
To discharge. And of course, obviously, I was just suggesting to you.
Yes, sir.
We're just suggesting you obviously
All right, Mr. Waters.
Your Honor, I don't know if Your Honor has another instruction that you prefer. I probably would do the language just a little different in that particular one, but I think fundamentally the principles are accurate. I do think that the next to last sentence is superfluous because that's already said, but I think that's fine. And in the end, I don't think that there's too much that we have an issue with that particular charge.
And Your Honor, other matter before we bring the jury in, or do you want to hear from me now?
The state intends on not this witness. If this witness is another witness, there's a GSR person, specific GSR person.
That's correct. It'll be the witness after this.
Okay. Evidence of GSR gunshot residue on that blue jacket. We would object to any such testimony under a 403 analysis. Prejudice outweighs the probative, and I'm struggling to figure out what the probative is. So I'm in this. I mean, I think it's factually driven. I think the state needs to give you some sense of what it proves. A jacket, I might point out, no one has put in the hands of the defendant. And the tarp that they found, they never tested for GSR, blood, DNA, and everyone says tarp. That's a jacket. I don't know how you connect it to the defendant. If the prejudice far outweighs any probative value in that it's not been connected to him, even circumstantially not connected to him. The only witness to it, Shelley, who I've talked to a couple times, indicated that was not what he had in his hands. And she'd never seen it before, never seen it with him. So, Your Honor, we'd oppose it under a 403 analysis.
Yes, Your Honor. I think if you listen to the testimony of Ms. Smith in totality, first of all, she identified a picture where she said, yeah, that looks like what it was. It was balled up. And that picture, of course, was then identified by Ms. Moore as where they recovered the actual raincoat, which, of course, is a very, very large raincoat and very easily could be identified as a tarp. I think any issues that Mr. Harpootlian wants to make, he can certainly argue those to the jury, but the connection has been established between Ms. Smith and that particular raincoat, and looking at the picture and saying, that's looks like what I saw. Additionally, with that other tarp, she also testified that there was no silver on that tarp, and if you look at the picture of that other tarp, it is half blue and half silver, so it's a very... There was, I think, Ms. And I'll have to find the exhibits for me real quick, Your Honor. Today, yes, please. So, Your Honor, and I can put them up with the elbow or hand them up, whichever you prefer, but we have State's Exhibit 224, and this was a tarp you can see with a lot of silver on it, but State's Exhibit 411, Ms. Smith identified as that's what it looked like. You can see that balled up thing right there, and that is ultimately the rain jacket, which, as you saw, particularly on Redirects with Ms. Gowd, this is extremely large, very easily could look like a tarp. And when she balled it up, Ms. Smith said, yeah, that's what it looked like. So I think there's been enough of a nexus established as to the probative value. And what you'll, of course, hear is that from the GSR experts is that very high levels of GSR were found within the inside of that blue rain jacket, which again is this big and very, very long. Again, Mr. Harpootlian can argue to the jury whatever inferences he wants to, but I think the state has established enough of a nexus to not only make it relevant, but to make its probative value not substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice. Yes, sir.
I think he either misunderstood or is misquoting what Ms. Smith said. She said, when she was shown that photo, she said, it's the same color or like the same color. She never, ever, ever said, that's what I saw him with as he came through the door. And by the way, she found the tarp. That couldn't be the tarp, because the tarp was found downstairs across a chair, which is what she said he walked in with. So the tarp in the box obviously isn't it. And I mean, she said the tarp that he came in with was the one that was on the chair when he came down, not the coat. All she ever said was that blue coat, it balled up, appears to be the same color. No one has ever said that she saw him or anybody saw him with that jacket. And I would also point out that I hate to say this, but I would suspect there are a number of rain jackets in this area of the state that have GSR on them, in them, around them. So there's no no one that says he had possession. All she ever said was, and by the way, it was all balled up. All she said was, it looks like the same color. She saw a picture of the rain jacket and said, that is not what he was carrying when he came in.
All right. The item is in evidence. The witness testified as to the location of the item of evidence and where she believed that it was placed by the defendant. It's in evidence. Obviously, the state contends that it has some inculpatory evidence on it. This is a circumstantial case, and circumstantially, proof may be offered on the issue of whether or not this gunshot residue or whatever it might be can be traced to the defendant. And I overrule the objection. I find it's the evidence offered is more probative than prejudicial, though I do not believe a probative versus prejudicial analysis is required on this issue. But to the extent that it is, I find that it's more probative than prejudicial, and I deny the motion to prevent the state from offering testimony.
Accept your ruling.
Yes, sir. If you bring the jury.
The jury is present, sir.
Thank you. Your next witness. State's next witness.
County James for the state calls Natasha Moody.
Raise your right hand, left hand on the Bible. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give the court in this trial shall be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Take a seat in the witness stand. State your name again for the record. Spell your last name.
My name is Natasha Moody, last name Moodie.
I spelled it with a Y on my paper. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Miss Moody, where are you from?
Jacksonville, Florida.
And for whom do you work?
Bank of America, NA.
What do you do for Bank of America, NA?
I am a consumer resolution associate.
Consumer resolution associate. What does a consumer resolution associate do?
I manage a portfolio of litigated matters. I appear on behalf of the bank for trials, depositions, mediations, and I also review our business records on a daily basis.
Your business records, were you asked to review business records for Bank of America, NA in relation to this case?
I did.
I am showing you 3 items labeled for identification as State's Exhibit 415, 416, and 417. Do you recognize these items?
I do.
And how do you recognize them?
I reviewed them and I also initialed them.
And generally speaking, what are these items?
These are documents for this case, opening account documents, monthly statements for various accounts, and copies of checks for this account, for various accounts.
So are they bank records?
Yes. I have some. Thank you.
Our state moves to introduce exhibits 415, 416, and 417 into evidence at this time, my understanding, with subject to any objections from your honor's previous ruling off today.
Yes, sir. It's our privilege.
Your Honor, may I confer with Mr. Murdaugh?
Yes.
To the admission of these records, I would ask you to give whatever cautionary charge you're going to do.
All right. Be happy to. Ladies and gentlemen, evidence or testimony is about to be offered that the defendant may have been involved in other criminal activity. And that evidence is not evidence or proof that he committed the offenses charged in the indictments. This testimony has been allowed and is being allowed for the limited purpose of assisting the state in proving motive. You may not consider this evidence for purposes of character of Mr. Murdaugh, nor may you consider this evidence as evidence of his propensity to commit other crimes, or that it is more likely that he committed the crimes with which he is currently on trial. It is being allowed based on the state's representation that it helps explain the defendant's motive to commit the crimes for which he is accused. And you may proceed.
Very briefly, Ms. Moody, we had 3 discs that are now in evidence. What information is on that first disc? You indicated that it was bank records. Do you have any additional information to describe those bank records?
I do, but I don't have the disc in front of me.
Showing you state's exhibit labeled 415. What records are on that disc?
There are checking account ending, it involves checking accounts, and I can give you the last 4 digits of those.
If you would, please.
Checking account ending in the last 4 digits is 6779. It has account opening documents, for that one. The next one is account ending in 7991, and those are account opening documents for that account. And then checking account ending in 7625, and that's account opening documents for that account. And then also monthly statements and supporting documents for all three accounts.
Thank you. Now showing you States Exhibit 416. What's on this disc?
These are credit card ending in 9559. And those are monthly statements in that, and account opening application documents.
States Exhibit 417. What's on that disc?
Also another credit card ending in 8591. And these are application accompanying documents and monthly statements for this account.
These are in evidence, but we would not have any objection to them except as to our previously made objections.
Yes, sir.
Okay, move to admit these three exhibits. No further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Moody.
Moody.
Moody, you may step down and you're excused. Let me call your next witness.
Now call Jamie Hall.
Raise your right hand, left hand on the Bible. Do you affirm the testimony about to give the court shall be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name again for the record. Spell your last name, please.
My name is Jamie Hall, Hall.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Where do you work?
I'm currently employed at the West Columbia Police Department as an evidence custodian
How long have you been there?
since April of 2022.
Would you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of this jury about Jamie Hall, as much to your background, as personal background as you want to? I'll leave that to you, but specifically your education and background that led you to law enforcement, please.
Yes, sir. I grew up in the Midlands area of South Carolina. Upon graduating high school, I attended Clemson University and obtained my bachelor's of science degree in wildlife and fisheries biology. After that, I spent a couple years traveling and working some various jobs. I moved back to the area in 2013 and began looking to start a career, and ended up at SLED in 2015 as an administrative assistant in the trace evidence department in the forensic services laboratory. I was an administrative assistant until 2017 when I became an evidence technician, or excuse me, a forensic technician too, in the trace evidence lab.
When did you graduate Clemson?
Sorry, in 2010.
So after you traveled some, you started working in SLED in what year?
In 2015.
Okay. What was your job then?
I was an administrative assistant.
What does that mean?
For the trace evidence department, that involved answering phone calls, filing documents, pretty much normal administrative duties.
Did you further your education or your experiences while you were at SLED in that field?
No, sir. When I became the technician in 2017, that's when I began the in-house training for that career.
Okay. Tell us about the in-house training when you became the forensic technician.
Yeah, so that training involved oral and practical examinations in-house under the supervision of an analyst, in which I learned how to properly handle the evidence and process the evidence for potential GSR. I also oversaw some testimonies of some analysts to be familiar with courtroom policies as well. And I took some outside training from Hook College in Chicago as well.
Hook College in Chicago?
Hook, yes, sir.
What was that training?
It was training regarding the scanning electron microscope, which is used for GSR analysis.
That's the acronym is SEM for that?
The SEM, yes, sir.
And when did you leave SLED?
In March of 2022
And do you mind, you're working where now?
at the West Columbia Police Department,
West Columbia Police Department, and you are there what?
evidence custodian.
Now, back in June of 2021, you were a forensic technician for SLED.
Yes, sir.
Special agent, forensic technician?
No, sir, I was not considered an agent or considered law enforcement. I was just the forensic technician too.
So then in June of 2021, what was your job on a day-to-day basis?
My primary role in the trace evidence department as a forensic technician was to prepare evidence for GSR analysis. That includes GSR kits as well as inanimate objects that came in for potential GSR testing.
And we're going to have Ms. Fletcher testify right after you, but what is a GSR kit?
A GSR kit is an envelope that goes out to officers or investigators so that they can collect on scene from a potential suspect's hands. And it involves, it has all the items they need: gloves so that they can make sure they're not contaminating the subject's hand. And then the little vials that contain the GSR particle lifts with a double-sided adhesive that's used to dab across their hands to pick up any potential GSR.
So those are kind of done in the field, if you will?
Yes, sir.
After a local law enforcement agency uses one of these kits, what happens to it?
When they decide that they need it analyzed, they submit it to the laboratory. And then when it comes into the laboratory, I prepare it for analysis. So that involves me making sure it's been properly sealed and initialed, handled properly, the correct kit. There are a variety of kits out there. Our lab has particular kits that we accept. So I confirm that it is an acceptable kit. And I also confirm that it was collected within the allowed time frame. On a living person, we're touching things all the time and possibly contaminating or removing the GSR. So we do have a 6-hour time limit on kits collected from individuals.
So if a kit comes into SLED or your possession, do you check to see if it was collected during that 6-hour time period?
Yes, sir, I do.
And how do you do that?
We have what we call an information worksheet included in each GSR kit that the officer fills out that includes the time or the estimated time that the shooting occurred, as well as the time that the kit was collected.
I'm going to show you what is marked States 13. Can you tell if you were involved with States 13? And if you can, how can you tell?
Yes, sir. This has the unique SLED lab number and item number, and it also has my initials on the day that I processed it.
6821 JEH.
Yes, sir.
What's the E stand for?
Elizabeth.
Now, court, would you open this, please?
Thank you.
Did you examine States 13?
Yes, sir. Again, it also has my date and initials from the day that I processed it.
Your initials again, JEH?
Yes, sir.
6821?
Yes, sir.
And when you're processing this, tell us again, what are you looking to see, whether it's what's done or not, or just tell us what you
Okay. So for a GSR kit, I start by using what we call an inventory worksheet. And on that worksheet, what I'm doing is confirming the manufacturer of the kit as well as the lot number for the kit. They have lot numbers for quality control purposes to make sure they're not contaminated before they're used for collection. I'm confirming who the kit was collected from, that 6-hour time frame. And during that time, I also label the individual particle lifts inside with the unique lab number, item number, date and initials for control purposes.
And I believe a sheet has been entered where Barnadoe collected this GSR kit from the defendant. Are you aware of that?
Are you referring to the gunshot residue analysis information sheet?
That's exactly what I'm referring to.
Yes, sir. That's what I would have used to confirm the 6-hour time frame.
And it's in evidence already. I'm not sure exactly what number, but do you have that copy?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. And this is already, if you'll trust me, this has already been entered into evidence. Did you use this in examining, determining whether this was collected properly?
Yes, sir, I did. It also has my date and initials on it.
So using the form, show these ladies and gentlemen what you did. How you came up and.
There's a section here at the bottom. So we have the subject's name from whom it was collected.
And who is that?
This one says Richard Alexander Murdaugh.
Okay.
As well as the time and date the shooting occurred, 6/7/21, 10 p.m.
And that's information that's gathered at the scene from somebody, right?
Yes, sir. Okay. This particular kit says that it was filled out by collecting officer Brian Vandor. Sorry if I messed that up.
Good enough. Okay.
And then at the bottom, the collecting officer has also signed and dated that it was collected on 6/7/21 at 11:15 p.m.
And would that 11:15 fit in the time period where you're saying, okay, well, I can pass this on to be analyzed?
Yes, sir. It's an hour and 15 minutes.
And so not taking away from what's your job at all, but one of your jobs is to make sure that's done correctly?
Yes, sir.
And then do you inspect the vials, if you will, to make
Yes,
sure?
sir. I make sure that there's nothing out of the ordinary with them. Occasionally, you would have a little crack in the vial, but I've never had anything damaged.
So in your opinion, these were collected properly and you passed them on for analysis?
To the best of my knowledge, yes, sir.
Now, were there, let me ask you this much. Local agencies that you examine items for potential evidence, in this case, gunshot residue, how do they get to the lab?
Typically, the officers from the local agency submit them through our evidence control department. And once they're submitted that way, that's when they're assigned their unique lab number and item numbers for each piece of evidence. And then based on the type of analysis that agency requested, we would get notice that it needs to be processed. And so I would pick it up from evidence control and bring it upstairs to the trace lab to begin the processing.
And is all that documented from local agency to y'all and where it goes from there?
I can't attest to what the outside agencies do. I believe it probably varies agency to agency, but once it's been logged into our system downstairs, it is tracked throughout the laboratory for every hand that touches it.
That's kind of what we refer to as a chain, correct?
Yes, sir. It's referred to as the chain of custody.
Chain of custody. Now, did you have some other items of potential evidence in this case that you examined?
Yes, sir. I had several other items.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's marked states 418. Ask me if you can just identify this. That's all, and does it relate to your testimony?
Well, I can no longer see my initials, but I did process items that were in container D, and this is marked with container D for this case number. Yes, sir.
And would you open it up then to see if you
Yes.
can further find your mark with the court's permission? Mark 21, excuse me, your lab number 21 contained in states 418 at this point for identification. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I recognize it as the lab item number 20.
And what is lab item number 20?
It was a brown paper bag containing one pair of green cargo shorts.
And also contained in 418, lab number 21. Can you tell me if you recognize that?
Yes, sir. It's lab number or item number for this case 19, which was a brown paper bag containing one white t-shirt.
Now, okay. Your Honor, all 418 without objection.
They're admitted.
I'm going to show you what. Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry. I'm going to ask you, please, may I ask a question? Look at 423, 424, and 425. Do you recognize these, and do they relate to what you're talking about right now?
Yes, sir. These are PGSR collection worksheets from clothing that I generate during my process of collecting from inanimate objects.
Okay. Inanimate objects.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let's start with the shirt, 423.
Yes,
It's
sir.
in evidence. Tell these folks what you did with the shirt.
So anytime we're processing clothing or an inanimate object in the lab, we start by making sure everything's been thoroughly cleaned, and we also place down parchment paper to just as an extra check and balance to make sure there's nothing contaminating the evidence. We also place what we call a clothing blank out onto the table where we are processing. That's just another one of those double-sided adhesive stubs, and it's left open and exposed to the environment to make sure there's no contamination in the environment. That's how I start all of my clothing. Then I confirm that everything is adequately sealed and documented. And I open my items and lay them out on the parchment paper. I photograph items, and then I do label those items for identification later if needed. And then I will sample the clothing item closest in the areas that would be closest to the discharge of the firearm. So in this case, we're talking about a t-shirt. So I will sample the right chest and sleeve area together and the left chest and left sleeve together. So if you want to draw a line down your midline for right and left, and then we typically go down to just below the chest area.
And is that what you do with every shirt?
Yes, sir. If it's a long sleeve garment, I would typically use a separate a separate particle lift for the chest area and the arms, just because the adhesive doesn't last quite as long.
And if you said this, I apologize, I'm tired. Why are you doing those areas?
It's closest to the discharge of a firearm.
Potential discharge, so that's where you test.
Yes, sir.
Well, looking at the shirt, look 418, the shirt that's contained in here. Which one's the shirt?
19.
19?
Yes, sir.
Before you get to doing the particle list, what's the first thing you do?
I confirm what the item is and that it's properly sealed and initialed.
Do you open it?
After I clean, I open it. Yes, sir.
And do you make observations of items when you first open it?
Yes, sir. Anything that seems out of the ordinary for any item is documented on the worksheet in the comments section.
And you have a comment section. That's where you put your thoughts, right?
Yes, sir. Anything that may, again, be out of the ordinary or affect the analysis later.
And just to go back, you go down a bit. Yeah, so this is right sleeve, right chest, left sleeve, left chest. Hanes beefy shirt, right? Here, you go down a little.
I don't have any objection to introducing 423 into evidence. I don't think it's in evidence yet, but no objection.
We offered it a little while ago, without objection. 423, 24, 25.
I have no objection to those three exhibits going in.
I thought I'd said that. If I didn't, I apologize. Is this a Hanes beefy t-shirt?
Yes, sir, it was.
And item 19.1, what are your comments underneath there?
Small reddish brown stains observed. Shirt had an odor of laundry detergent.
What do you mean by that, an odor of laundry detergent?
It just smelled freshly laundered, which is not typical of the lab. Typically, clothing smells slightly musky when we get it.
And you examined this shirt when?
On June 8th of 2021.
Now, you didn't know, did you have any knowledge about this case whatsoever?
I just knew that we had asked to make it a priority in the lab.
And you attempted to collect particle lists from that shirt?
I did collect particle lists from the shirt. Yes, sir.
Next, states 425. Sorry, we're out of order here. This is also your clothing worksheet.
Can I see the top of that sheet? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, sir.
And what was this that you examined?
This was the worksheet we generated when we collected from a seatbelt that was collected from a 2021 Chevy Suburban, South Carolina, tag CZL420.
I think we have it marked for ID only. Do you recognize this? Like that, I'm sorry. The seatbelt states 100. Thank you to everybody. States 100. Can you look at this and see if you haven't examined that before? Does it relate to your testimony?
Yes, sir. This was SLED item number 142, and it also has my date and initials on it as well.
All right, what did you do with states 100?
At the direction of the analyst, Megan Fletcher, I collected samples from various areas on the seatbelt.
And can you tell the ladies and gentlemen, jury, how did you determine where you were going to collect samples?
Since this was not our typical item, I collected from areas in which Megan instructed me to collect.
Which was where?
We collected from the buckle, 3 different areas of the belt, and the latch plate.
Can you show the jury where you collected?
Yeah. So this, I believe, was what we call the latch plate.
Okay.
Sorry if I'm misspeaking on that, but, and then the buckle was this area here, and we did the top and bottom of it. And the 3 sections were just, we measured the length for each section, did a section, rolled more out, and did the next section.
And how are you actually doing it with the particle lifts? How are you collecting them?
So as stated before, the particle lifts have a double-sided adhesive on it, and you just repeatedly dab that across the garment or the item that you're collecting until it loses its adhesive abilities.
100, we'd offer, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor. Did it?
Thank you. And looking back on the sheet, this noted here, that's where you went through and did your inventory sheet, correct?
Yes, sir.
And this is to document you did what you did, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, did you also have occasion to examine the pants in this case? It's already, I believe, in evidence.
I did collect from some cargo shorts.
And those were also included on what I just took down off the Elmo, but can you tell the folks where you collected or tried to collect lifts off the cargo shorts and why you collected in those areas?
Yes, sir. For any type of pants or shorts, we always collect from the right groin and the left groin area. Again, that's the area that's closest to the discharge of a firearm.
And that's standard. That's what you do.
That is standard practice.
Now, did you
Is that correct, Mr. Griffin?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that minute?
Would you mind opening it up for, first of all, do you know whether or not you examined the pair of shoes in this case?
I did, and these are the shoes sled item number 21.
Okay. Would you please open that for the ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. These gloves.
Sure. Yes, ma'am. Before you cutting that, do you see JEH on here?
Yes, sir, I do. On 6/8/21, I signed my initials.
What is all that right there?
I believe it's yard debris.
Court permission to dump this right here, or can I get a trash can? These are states 419 in without objection. Can you show these to the jury?
Sir.
Show the jury what you, I'll hold them. Show the jury what you,
So with shoes, when we collect from them, we're going to collect again to the area that would be closest to the discharge of the firearm. So the front of the shoe. So in this case, I would do the area where the laces would typically be and the front toe. Depending on how well the adhesive continues, it will depend on how far back I go, but I start with the toe and then work my area down the sides.
Is this the condition they were when you saw them on June 8th, 2021?
There was more grassy type material on them when I had them.
And what I just dumped in the trash can with the court's permission and in here, did you indicate on your comment section
Yes.
whether or not yard debris was present?
Yes, sir. I commented that shoes were wet with yard debris present.
Wet with yard debris.
Yes, sir.
Did you, on June 8th now, go back in your mind,
Mhm.
when you saw these, in addition to wet and yard debris, did you make any other notes in the comment section about those shoes?
I did not.
Do you remember, did you see anything that looked like blood
I did not make any note of that. No, sir.
with your naked eye?
No, sir.
Top or bottom?
No, sir.
Did you have any other items that you examined that were presented to you for examination either by yourself or with Megan Fletcher?
Yes, sir.
What was that?
It was sled item number 173. And it was, we described it as one blue rain jacket / poncho.
Okay. And was this the same? When did you examine the poncho?
I believe we began on October 5th, 2021.
So is it fair to say that the clothes, the shirt, the pants, and the shoes were on June 8th of 2021?
Let me check my notes. Yes, sir, that's correct. June 8th of 2021.
And I didn't ask you this, and I apologize. When did you examine the belt, the seat belt?
The seatbelt was examined on September 1st, 2021.
And again, the specific date for the raincoat was what?
October 5th, 2021.
And tell the ladies and gentlemen, take us to the lab now. How did you examine that garment, the rain jacket?
This was also not our typical garment, and I believe there was some information provided from investigations. So everything I did in this case was at the direct, or in this, for this particular item, was at the direct supervision of Megan Fletcher. She essentially told me where she would like me to collect, and she documented everything on the note sheet while I physically collected the particle list.
And 427 without objection.
Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
They're admitted.
And Your Honor, 421 are the particle lists from the rain jacket, and I believe there's no objection except the further the objection they made previously. No additional objection, 421.
They're admitted.
So let me go back in time real quick. Are these the particle lifts you took from the seatbelt? 427?
Yes, sir, my initials are also on each individual stub.
And that's sort of like the officer has in the scene. You're now doing it in the lab, taking particle lifts, right?
Correct.
And particle lists from 420 lists from 19, 20, and 21, which I think are the pants, the shirt, and the shoes. Were these the particle lists from 420 that you actually took?
Yes, sir.
Again in the tube.
Yes, sir.
And your initials is on it.
Yes, sir.
Now, 421, you said it was a little different, unusual. How did you take the particle list on this rain jacket?
I believe everything was considered in Megan's custody while I was doing the collection. And then it was transferred directly to my custody when I carbon coated the particle lifts. That's just a process where a thin layer of carbon is added. It allows the analyst to get better images on the instrument. It doesn't do anything to add or remove GSR. It just simply adds a very thin layer of carbon. So it was in my custody at that time, but prior to that, it was in Megan's custody.
Show you this. Part is 226. Is this the rain jacket that you were describing?
If I can check the bottom cuff. Yes, sir. The date and my initials are here in the bottom cuff.
So you looked at this rain jacket,
Yes, sir, I did.
and Megan Fletcher was with you.
Yes, sir.
And tell the ladies and gentlemen, how did you process? Where did you attempt to get particle lists?
Basically the entire garment. We marked it off in different sections again where Megan advised me to collect from, and I repeatedly dabbed the particle lift across each section until it lost adhesive.
These particle lists?
Yes, sir.
You dabbed each one of these?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what are these little things on here? These tape or the?
I'm not sure what those are.
Now you did the outside of this garment.
Correct.
Did you do anything else to it?
We also sampled the inside of this garment as well.
So you actually turned it inside out and took samples from the inside.
That's correct.
Megan Fletcher was with you.
Yes, sir.
What about the hood? Did you test it or take samples from the outside of the hood?
Yes, sir, we did.
Did you take samples from the inside of the hood?
Yes, sir, we did.
Had the court's indulgence. I'm not wearing gloves here now, but when you're examining all of these items, do you wear gloves?
Yes, sir.
Does Megan Fletcher, did she wear gloves?
Yes, sir.
Why?
To make sure we're not contaminating it, as well as to protect ourselves from anything that may be on the garment.
And as far as the, to not contaminate it, you don't want to put anything of you on that garment.
Correct. It's standard practice for us to wear a lab coat, gloves, and if it's going to be processed for DNA later, we also wear a mask.
And is that in a controlled environment when you attempt to get these particles?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Judge. That's all.
Private defense.
Thank you. That's 423. Good afternoon, Ms. Hall.
Good afternoon.
You said if you're going to do DNA testing, you wear a mask.
Yes, sir.
Did you wear a mask?
Yes, sir, I did.
So, to your knowledge, were some of these items processed for DNA after the GSR processing?
It was my understanding that they had the potential for DNA analysis. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let's just talk about how you go about sampling for GSR. And you talked about the shirt, and you said you would do the chest and sleeve on either side. How does that work? Do you lay the shirt out on a table?
Yes, sir. So as I stated, the table is thoroughly cleaned, and then we place down parchment paper as well, sterile parchment paper, and lay the garment out on that so that we can access all the areas.
And for the shirt here, I think it's item 19. Did you just check on the two areas at the top on the chest side?
Yes, sir. Unless we're given information from the investigative team or from an officer who submitted it that there's potentially a reason to test somewhere else, we only test the chest and sleeve area because that's the area that would be closest to the discharge of a firearm.
And that's what you're looking for is, you call it gunshot residue, is that right?
Yes, sir. It's microscopic, so you cannot see it. Therefore, we're testing the areas where we would expect to find it.
And you would expect to find gunshot residue on the shoulders of a person who had recently shot a gun, I would take it.
Yes, sir.
That's what you're looking for.
That's what we're trying to find out. Yes.
Right. And then you did some GSR testing of a seatbelt assembly and buckle and whatnot, right?
Correct.
And you did GSR testing of this rain jacket here, right?
Correct.
And shirt, shorts, shoes, and Officer Barnado, I think's the name. You received a sample from him, and you just checked to be sure it was off.
I didn't physically receive it from him, but he was the collecting officer listed on the sheet. Yes, sir.
Okay. And so he would have taken the sample, or whoever did it would have taken it from Mr. Murdaugh. And that would be item number 18, I believe.
Slide item 18. Yes, sir.
And those are the samples taken from Mr. Murdaugh's hands, I take it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you can get gunshot residue on you by just simply picking up a firearm, can you not?
Those questions would be better asked of the analyst. I can only testify to factually what I did.
Okay. And the analyst here is Ms. Fletcher?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me ask you to take a look at your worksheet, which is in evidence 423. And do you have that up there?
Yes, sir.
You know, I think I'd rather put it on the Elmo so we can. Do you have it in?
I have my copy. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So all right. Yeah, go to the top. Okay, let's stop right there. Agent Hall, it says that this was a brand Hanes beefy T-shirt,
Yes, sir.
and then particle lifts, right sleeve, right chest, left sleeve, left chest, correct?
Correct.
And it says description, paper bag containing one white T-shirt. Is that right?
That's correct.
And Doug, if you'll go up, down a little bit more, okay. And then there it says, comment, small reddish brown stains observed. shirt had odor of laundry detergent, that's what it says, correct?
Correct.
Do you know what those small reddish brown stains looked like?
They looked like small reddish brown stains on the shirt.
Were they tested?
I have no knowledge of what was done after I handled the object.
Okay. Now below here, it says sealed brown paper bag containing one pair of green shorts. Is that just an entry for another item?
Yes, sir. That's item number 20. The sheet is designed where we can put 2 items on one sheet.
Okay. So when you received the shirt, item 19, was it in its own separate bag?
In this case, it was, yes, sir. That's why I made the note that that individual item contained its own brown paper bag, while the description says brown paper bag containing.
Okay. And the shorts, those are green cargo shorts. And again, you lifted, it says right groin, left groin.
Correct.
And it's just on the, is it on the inside of the pants leg or?
Well, it's on the outside of the garment, down to, a reasonable distance, depending on the type of fabric, could depend on how much adhesive it has, depending on how large the garment is from the person. A small garment versus a 3XL is completely different. It depends on how far I can go down on the garment.
And then to do this, you take a sticky something or another? And
it's a double-sided adhesive on an aluminum stub within those little vials. The bottom has a holder for that, and then we grip it by the bottom and repeatedly dab it across the garment.
Until it loses its stickiness.
Correct.
And then do you do 1 vial per area or multiple vials?
It's 1 vial per area listed. If for some reason I needed to use an extra vial or an additional vial, that would have had its own listing on the worksheet.
Okay. Now I tell you, you don't know what the results of your lifting were, do you?
No, sir, I do not.
That you would then finish your work and send it up the chain?
Yes, sir. All the items are either given directly to the analyst or they're securely stored in the trace evidence lab until the analyst takes possession of them.
And this blue rain jacket, you said you put carbon on it or something?
Yes, sir. It's a standard practice for anything collected from an inanimate object. We typically get a lot of debris, sand, dirt, or fibers, typically from clothing, and that can cause it to be a little bit more difficult on the instrument for them to get pictures of the particles. So the carbon just allows them to get a better picture of the a better picture of the particles when they do their analysis, but it does not do anything to add or remove GSR.
So you put the carbon down before you use your sticky thing?
No, sir, that process happens after the collection.
Okay.
So it goes into a small device, and there's little rods of carbon that are rubbed against each other inside of the instrument to put the layer of carbon onto it.
I see. But you're not putting carbon on the garment?
No, sir.
Got it. Okay. One second, Your Honor. Ms. Hall, are you involved in any way with DNA processing?
No, sir, I'm not.
Okay. And so you don't know whether any of the items were processed for DNA?
I have no knowledge of where the items went after they left my department.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. You may step down. Unless you have a 2-minute witness, this will be it for today.
We don't, Your Honor, unfortunately.
Ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for this day. We'll resume at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Please do not
So what do you guys think? Do you think that prosecution made some headway today, or do you think the defense may have made some headway? Personally, I think the defense. Let me see what's going on over here. Well, there is more going on. Let's check it out. The jury's gone.
Not the t-shirt, not the shorts, not the shoes.
And regarding that same number 226 rain jacket, is the same item that Mr. Griffin cross-examined a previous witness concerning? Ms. Smith,
Yes, sir.
concerning,
Examined her extensively about whether she'd ever, first of all, was that rain jacket in his hands when he came in that morning? 2, had she ever seen him with that rain jacket? And 3, did she, I mean, when she looked into the closet, did she know whether it was a tarp or whether it was a rain jacket? Was it the same color? She said it was the same color. That's it. And I objected to it because I thought the prejudicial outweighed the probative.
so I also recall Mr. Griffin questioned her as to whether it appeared there was a gun or different things in it.
No, Your Honor. I questioned her as to the tarp. This witness, Ms. Shelley Smith, they never showed her the rain jacket. She's never identified a rain jacket. And when asking court here a photo of that rain jacket, she says, Your Honor, that is not what he had. And what's so prejudicial is they have introduced GSR, and they will introduce an expert tomorrow to say it's covered with GSR. And that is extremely prejudicial. They have no evidence connecting Mr. Murdaugh to that rain jacket. And the only witness they relied upon to get a search warrant, Your Honor, says that he came in with a tarp. I questioned her whether in the tarp, it looked like there was a gun in the tarp. She says no. She says he went upstairs, he came down, he laid the tarp open on his mother's retirement rocking chair. And she leaves that day and she sees the tarp laid out, and it's a tarp that looks like it goes over a car. And now they're coming in, showed her a photo of something in the closet that they seized and says, yeah, does that look like a tarp? And, I mean, does that look like what you saw? She said, well, it's blue. And now they're putting in GSR on an item in a house he doesn't live in, on an item he's never had in his possession, to the best of anybody's knowledge. And that's the basis of our objection, Your Honor.
So, Your Honor, again, if you look at the testimony, excuse me, in its entirety, Ms. Smith described she testified, of course, that Alex Murdaugh had showed up early in the morning, which was highly unusual. He was carrying what appeared to be a blue tarp balled up. And then she was showing the picture in the closet where it's balled up and said, that looks like the item. Now, when it was pulled out and shown by them, she said, that's not what necessarily I saw, but she did recognize the balled up item and the balled up item in the closet, which the investigator said that's how they recovered it. She did identify that picture, and then if you put the two chains of evidence together, that's what the investigator recovered that she identified. Now, certainly they can argue to the jury whether or not that's the right tarp or not, but she did say that that is consistent with what I saw, all balled up, which is the only way she saw it. Again, this is also evidence that, was admitted and has been extensively examined before the jury on. So certainly they can argue all these points to the jury, but there's enough of a chain that's been established by the testimony for it to be submitted to the jury.
Your Honor, might I make a suggestion? Yes, sir. We're getting daily transcripts. Perhaps overnight you could, before they, the prejudicial piece is the witness they're going to put up tomorrow, I would suggest. perhaps you could look at that daily transcript of her testimony alone. And I don't believe, I submit, she said what he said, maybe what he wished she said. I don't believe she said what he said. Your Honor, I think Mr. Waters is arguing this. I don't believe Mr. Metters has a dog in this.
Y'all just did.
Well, good for the goose, good for the gander, but 520, I just thought maybe this is a simple solution. He's going to say this is what she said. We're going to say this is what she said. I think it's clear she never said that what was in the closet was what he carried in. But, and of course, you have a court reporter that could, I guess, not type it tonight, but perhaps give you an audio of it. But it's a very simple question. It boils down to what she said about what she saw in the closet. Because clearly she said that when shown a picture, that's not what he walked in with. He walked in with a tarp, which he left over a chair. And, you know, other than their supposition that he somehow brought that rain jacket in and wadded it up and threw it up in the closet, no evidence that there was a gun, no evidence that anything was balled up in it. They'd want to make a giant leap of logic. It's not circumstantial evidence of anything. So I would ask the court to perhaps look at the daily transcript. Somebody's got one right there. And just look at her testimony, not all of it, just her, or even a piece of her testimony. What did she see in the closet in response to Mr. Metters' question? Now, Mr. Metters believes she said something, and Mr. Waters believes she said something different than what we think. The proof is in the pudding, as they say, or whatever. That's not really a legal aphorism there, but I would suggest strongly that maybe overnight look at it and then let us know what you think.
Mr. Metters, you had something? Mr. Waters, yeah.
I think, and I guess on redirect through their investigators' transcript, I think they were asked, I asked her if they had asked her about whether it could contain a firearm, and she said, well, I don't know. But that was brought out, I think, which would directly from their investigators who asked her about it. So that, I think, made it relevant. They certainly thought it was relevant when they were interviewing her. So that's why we do think it's relevant, and we hope Your Honor will let us keep going tomorrow with the GSR to see if there's anything potentially in the rain jacket that has GSR evidence.
All right. Okay, we'll adjourn for this day.
That's that for today, friends. So it is getting a little bit later, 3:30 here. Pets to feed, cages to clean, and researching to do. So you know what, guys? Thank you very much for hanging out with me again today. I truly, truly appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Bye.